The ultimatum. The great hall of the Galactic Tribunal stretched before Ambassador Sarah Chen like a vast cathedral made of living crystal. 10,000 seats carved from meteorite stone rose in perfect circles around the central speaking platform where she now stood. Representatives from 3,000 different species filled those seats. Their eyes, sensors, and various perception organs focused on the lone human woman at the center of their attention. Sarah adjusted the collar of her navy blue diplomatic uniform and looked up at the towering figure of Supreme Arbiter Vexthul. The massive creature resembled a cross between a mantis and a tree, with bark-like skin and compound eyes that glittered like black diamonds. Behind him sat the 5 members of the HFY Council, the most powerful military alliance in known space. Ambassador Chen of the Sol System, Vexthul's voice boomed through the hall like distant thunder. You have been summoned to receive the generous offer of protection from the Galactic Hegemony. General Krextar will present the terms. General. Krextar rose from his seat among the HFY Council. The Zephyrian stood nearly 12 feet tall, his silver exoskeleton gleaming under the hall's artificial starlight. 4 arms moved in perfect synchronization as he activated a holographic display that filled the air above the platform. Images of burning worlds and shattered fleets painted the space in red and orange. Citizens of Earth, Krextar began, his metallic voice carrying no warmth. Your species has achieved remarkable things in your brief time among the stars. You have colonized 17 worlds in just 50 years. You have developed technologies that impress even ancient civilizations. You have earned respect throughout the galaxy. Sarah remained silent, but her jaw tightened slightly. She knew what was coming. However, the general continued, space is dangerous. Pirates roam the void between stars. Hostile species seek to expand their territories. Ancient machines still guard forgotten worlds with deadly force. Many young civilizations have been destroyed by threats they could not handle alone. The holographic display shifted to show peaceful worlds under attack. Cities burned while strange ships filled the skies above them. Sarah recognized some of the attacking vessels. They belonged to species that were now members of the hegemony. The Galactic Hegemony offers protection from all such threats, Krextar announced. Our fleets patrol trade routes. Our intelligence networks monitor hostile movements. Our diplomatic corps prevents wars before they begin. 1,400 species have accepted our protection and prospered under our guidance. And what do you ask in return? Sarah's voice cut through the hall like a blade. She had not been given permission to speak, but she spoke anyway. General Krextar's compound eyes focused on her with what might have been amusement. Direct. I like that quality. Inhumans. Very well, Ambassador. The price of our protection is simple. 60% of your agricultural production, 60% of your industrial output, and 60% of your technological research. In exchange, you receive absolute security and access to our vast trade networks. A murmur rippled through the assembled representatives. Even by galactic standards, it was an enormous demand. Sarah felt her heart rate increase, but her voice remained steady. 60% of everything we produce. Forever. Forever, Krextar confirmed. Or until humanity no longer requires our protection, which we judge to be unlikely given your species' tendency toward conflict and territorial expansion. Sarah looked around the vast hall. 3,000 species and only 1,400 had accepted this deal. She wondered what had happened to the others who refused. General Krextar, she said carefully, might I ask what became of species that declined your generous offer? The Zephyrian's exoskeleton clicked as he shifted position. Some reconsidered after experiencing the dangers of unprotected space. Others found that their neighbors became less friendly when word spread of their refusal to contribute to galactic security. And the rest? Krextar was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried a note of what might have been regret. The rest learned that protection from the hegemony is far preferable to protection from the alternatives. Sarah understood. The hegemony did not just offer protection, they created the need for it. Species that refused to pay the tribute found themselves facing mysterious attacks, trade embargoes, and diplomatic isolation. Eventually, they either joined or were destroyed by problems that seemed to appear from nowhere. I see, Sarah said. And if humanity needs time to consider this offer? Of course, General Krextar replied smoothly. You have 72 hours to provide your answer. After that time, we cannot guarantee your safety from the various threats that seem to be gathering near human space. The threat was clear enough. Sarah activated her own small holographic display, showing data she had gathered during her 3 months on the tribunal station. General, these threats you mention, I have been studying them. The pirate attacks on human shipping lanes all use stolen hegemony weapons. The hostile species massing near our borders all received military aid from hegemony members within the year. Last year, the ancient machine worlds that suddenly activated near our colonies all received triggering signals from hegemony communication arrays. A shocked silence filled the hall. Even some hegemony species looked surprised by the accusations. General Krextar's compound eyes fixed on Sarah with sudden intensity. Those are serious accusations, Ambassador Chen. Do you have proof? Sarah smiled for the first time since entering the hall. I have something better than proof, General. I have the intercepted communications between Hegemony Command and the pirates you claim to protect us from. I have the shipping manifest showing weapons deliveries to our supposed enemies. I have the technical specifications of the control codes used to activate those ancient defenses. She activated another hologram, showing detailed evidence of hegemony, involvement in every threat facing human space. The assembled representatives stirred uneasily as they recognized the implications. You create the problems you claim to solve, Sarah continued. You threaten species into submission by manufacturing the very dangers they need protection from. It is the oldest protection racket in the universe, dressed up in the language of galactic security. General Krextar stood to his full 12-foot height. Ambassador Chen, you are making very dangerous statements. Perhaps the stress of diplomatic responsibility has affected your judgment. My judgment is perfectly clear, Sarah replied. Humanity has faced down ice ages, supervolcano eruptions, asteroid impacts, and 2 world wars that nearly destroyed our civilization. We have survived plagues that killed half our population and political systems that ground individual lives into dust. We did not crawl up from the bottom of Earth's food chain by paying tribute to predators. The hall had gone completely silent. Sarah looked up at the thousands of alien faces watching her, then turned back to General Krextar. You want to know humanity's answer to your generous offer? Here it is. We refuse. We will not pay 60% of everything we produce to avoid threats that you yourselves create. We will not surrender our independence to purchase safety from your own weapons. We will not join your protection racket, no matter how many civilizations have been frightened into compliance. General Krextar's exoskeleton began to glow with an angry red light. Ambassador Chen, you do not understand the forces you are defying. The hegemony has protected galactic peace for over 2,000 years. We have prevented countless wars and saved billions of lives. By enslaving entire civilizations economically, Sarah shot back. By creating artificial scarcity to maintain control. By turning the galaxy into a pyramid scheme where the strong feed on the weak and call it civilization. She turned to address the entire assembly. How many species here remember what it was like before the hegemony? How many of you made this choice freely without threats and manufactured crises pushing you toward compliance? A few representatives began to shift uncomfortably in their seats. Sarah pressed on. Humanity has studied your history. We know that pirate attacks increased by 3,000% in the decades before the hegemony rose to power. We know that ancient automated defenses that had been dormant for millennia suddenly began activating near populated worlds. We know that species after species faced existential threats right before hegemony representatives arrived with offers of protection. Supreme Arbiter Vex Thul raised one massive arm for silence. Ambassador Chen, you have presented serious accusations without formal evidence. The tribunal will review your claims in due process. However, your immediate concern should be providing humanity's response to the hegemony's offer. Sarah looked up at the ancient being who had presided over galactic affairs for centuries. Your Honor, humanity's response is simple and final. We will not pay the price you demand for peace. If that means war, then we choose war. If that means standing alone against the entire galaxy, then we stand alone. Humanity has never purchased its freedom with submission, and we will not start now." The silence that followed her words was absolute. 3,000 species held their collective breath as they processed what they had just heard. A young civilization had just declared its intention to fight the greatest military power in galactic history, rather than submit to their demands. General Krextar's voice carried a note of genuine surprise. "Ambassador Chen, do you understand what you have just said? You are choosing to fight a force that could sterilize your homeworld from across the galaxy. You are condemning your species to destruction for the sake of principle." Sarah straightened her shoulders and looked the general directly in his compound eyes. "General Krextar, you clearly do not understand what you are dealing with. Humans do not choose the easy path. We do not surrender when facing superior odds. We do not negotiate with terrorists, even when they wear the uniform of galactic peacekeepers." She activated one final hologram, showing images of human history: soldiers charging across beaches under heavy fire, scientists working by candlelight during wartime blackouts, civilians defying occupying armies with nothing but their bare hands. "This is what we choose when faced with impossible odds," Sarah said. "This is how we respond when someone demands our freedom as the price of peace. We have fought empires that spanned continents. We have defeated ideologies that promised perfect order in exchange for absolute obedience. We have faced extinction and chosen to fight rather than kneel." She turned to face the assembled representatives one final time. "To those species who joined the hegemony willingly, we hold no grudge. To those who were forced into compliance, know that there is still another choice. To the hegemony itself, we say this: humanity does not negotiate with extortionists. Come and take what you want if you can." Sarah walked toward the exit of the Great Hall, her footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. As she reached the massive doors, she turned back one final time. "Oh, and General Krextar, those 72 hours you gave us, we do not need them. Humanity's answer is final. No tribute, no submission, no quarter asked or given. If you want war, you will have it." The doors closed behind her, leaving 3,000 alien species to contemplate what they had just witnessed. For the first time in galactic history, a species had looked into the face of overwhelming power and chosen defiance over survival. In the stunned silence of the Great Hall, General Krextar activated his personal communicator and spoke a single word that would echo across the galaxy: mobilize. The human response Admiral Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Indomitable, watching the tactical display that showed the approaching hegemony fleet. 300 ships moved in perfect formation toward the Sol system, their combined firepower capable of reducing planets to radioactive ash. Against them, Earth could field barely 50 combat vessels, most of them converted civilian craft with hastily installed weapons. "Admiral," Communications Officer Lieutenant Sarah Park called out, "we are receiving a transmission from the flagship. General Krextar wants to speak with you directly." "Put him through," Webb ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the imposing figure of the Zephyrian general. "Admiral Webb," Krextar began, "I am authorized to offer humanity one final opportunity for peaceful resolution. Surrender now, and your species will be relocated to a single world under hegemony supervision. Your technology and resources will be confiscated, but your people will live." Admiral Webb was a man of 70 years with gray hair and scars from 3 different colonial wars. He had seen Earth's first contact with alien life, watched humanity expand across 17 worlds, and commanded fleets in battles against pirates and hostile aliens. He looked at the Zephyrian general with the expression of someone who had faced death many times and found it unimpressive. "General Krextar," Webb replied calmly, "I have a counteroffer. Turn your fleet around and leave human space immediately. Tell the galaxy that humanity is not interested in your protection racket. Do this, and we will not demonstrate why your ancestors evolved to be prey animals." The insult hit home. Zephyrians had indeed evolved as prey species, developing their exoskeletons and group tactics to survive against larger predators. Krextar's compound eyes flared with anger. Admiral, you command 50 obsolete ships against 300 of the most advanced vessels in the galaxy. Your bravado cannot change mathematics. Mathematics, Webb mused. Tell me, General, what does your mathematics say about the Battle of Thermopylae, or the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, or the Siege of Bastogne? Sometimes mathematics fails to account for the human variable. Ancient history from a primitive world. Krextar dismissed. Your species' capacity for self-destruction is well documented, but irrelevant against superior technology. Webb smiled grimly. We will see. Admiral Webb out. The transmission ended, and Webb turned to his tactical officer. Commander Rodriguez, status report on Operation Haymaker. Commander Elena Rodriguez consulted her displays. All pieces are in position, sir. The civilian evacuation ships have cleared the combat zone. Our allies have confirmed their readiness. Allies? Krextar had been monitoring human communications and overheard. What allies? No species in the galaxy would dare oppose the hegemony, for your sake. Webb activated the ship's general communication system. This is Admiral Webb to all human vessels. You know what we face today. You know the odds against us. You know that the galaxy expects us to surrender or die quietly in the darkness between stars. Throughout the human fleet, officers and crew members listened to their commander's words. On converted cargo haulers and refitted mining ships, humans prepared for battle against impossible odds. But we are not here to die quietly, Webb continued. We are here to send a message that will echo across every star system in the galaxy. We are here to prove that some things are worth more than life itself. Freedom is worth more than safety. Dignity is worth more than survival. The right to choose our own destiny is worth more than all the protection the hegemony can offer. The hegemony fleet continued its approach, weapons charging and shields activating. General Krextar expected the humans to break formation and flee, or perhaps attempt some desperate last-minute negotiation. Instead, the human ships held their positions in what appeared to be a classic defensive formation. Human vessels, Krextar broadcast on all frequencies. This is your final warning. Surrender now, or face complete annihilation. Admiral Webb's response came immediately. General Krextar, this is our final answer. Come and take it. The battle began with a coordinated hegemony assault designed to overwhelm human defenses quickly. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and quantum torpedoes lanced out across space toward the human formation. The attack was calculated to destroy half the human fleet in the opening salvo. Instead, something impossible happened. The devastating weapons fire struck empty space where human ships had been moments before. The entire human fleet had vanished from sensors, leaving only expanding clouds of debris and energy signatures. Cloaking devices? One of Krextar's subordinates suggested, but the general shook his head. Impossible. Humans lack the technology for fleet-wide cloaking. The answer came from an unexpected direction. Admiral Webb's voice echoed across all communication frequencies, but now it came from behind the hegemony formation. Lesson 1 in human military history, General. We do not fight fair. The human fleet had not vanished. They had used a combination of holographic projectors and debris clouds to create false targets while their real ships moved to attack positions using a tactic humans called going dark. Every ship had shut down all non-essential systems and used minimal thrust to drift into position behind the hegemony fleet. The humans struck like wolves attacking a herd of grazing animals. Small, fast ships darted between the massive hegemony vessels, targeting engines and weapon systems rather than attempting to destroy ships outright. It was a strategy born from centuries of human warfare. If you cannot match your enemy's strength, cripple their ability to use it. Impossible. Krextar muttered as his tactical display showed hegemony ships losing power and maneuvering capability. Their weapons should not be able to penetrate our shields. Commander Rodriguez smiled grimly from her position aboard the Indomitable. That is because we are not using conventional weapons, General. The humans had developed something new. Weapons that did not try to overpower enemy defenses but instead exploited their weaknesses. Electromagnetic pulse torpedoes designed specifically to disrupt Zephyrian neural interfaces. Sonic charges calibrated to shatter hegemony hull composites. nanite swarms programmed to consume the exotic materials used in enemy shield generators. You studied us. Admiral Webb's voice came over the communications channel. You learned about human history, human psychology, human weaknesses. But you made one critical error. You assumed we would not study you in return. As hegemony ships struggled with cascading system failures, human vessels pressed their attack with surgical precision. They had spent months analyzing captured hegemony technology, studying battle recordings and developing countermeasures for every major weapon system the enemy possessed. This is not warfare, Krextar protested as another of his dreadnoughts went dark. This is terrorism. This is asymmetric warfare, Webb corrected, something humans invented when we faced opponents with superior numbers and technology. We learned long ago that the strongest enemy can be defeated if you understand their weaknesses better than they understand your strengths. But the humans had one more surprise. As the hegemony fleet began to reorganize and adapt to human tactics, new contacts appeared on everyone's sensors. Ships from a dozen different species emerged from hyperspace around the battlefield. The Altarian Republic stands with humanity, came a transmission from one of the newcomer fleets. The Free Worlds Coalition will not allow the hegemony to continue its protection racket, announced another. General Krextar realized with growing horror that humanity's defiance had inspired something he had never seen before: open rebellion against hegemony authority. Species that had paid tribute for centuries were breaking their treaties and joining the humans in armed resistance. How? He demanded over the communications channel. How did you convince them to commit suicide for your cause? Admiral Webb's reply came with the sound of weapons fire in the background. We did not convince them of anything, General. We simply showed them that resistance was possible. Sometimes that is all it takes. Someone willing to stand up and prove that the impossible is just difficult. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it ended, the hegemony fleet was in full retreat, leaving behind 30 destroyed ships and twice that number crippled beyond immediate repair. The human fleet had lost 18 vessels, but more importantly, they had shattered the myth of hegemony invincibility. In the aftermath, Admiral Webb received a priority transmission from Earth. Ambassador Sarah Chen appeared on his screen calling from the Galactic Tribunal station. Admiral, the situation here has changed dramatically. 17 species have formally withdrawn from hegemony protection agreements. The tribunal is investigating our evidence of artificial threat creation. General Krextar has been recalled to face inquiry. Webb nodded tiredly. What does that mean for us, Ambassador? It means we won more than a battle today, Sarah replied. We started a revolution. The galaxy is remembering what it was like before the hegemony turned protection into extortion. As news of the battle spread across the galaxy, something remarkable happened. Species that had accepted hegemony domination for generations began questioning the price they paid for peace. Trade routes opened between worlds that had been isolated by artificial conflicts. Ancient grudges that had been carefully maintained by hegemony interference began to fade. The hegemony still controlled vast fleets and resources, but their monopoly on galactic security was broken. Other species began developing their own defenses, forming mutual protection agreements that did not require massive tribute payments. 3 months after the Battle of Sol, Ambassador Sarah Chen stood once again before the Galactic Tribunal. This time, she was not alone. Representatives from 47 different species stood with her as she addressed the assembly. Your Honor, she began, we gather today not to condemn the hegemony for past actions, but to propose a new model for galactic security, one based on mutual cooperation rather than forced tribute, one that creates genuine peace rather than the artificial stability of fear. Supreme Arbiter Vexthol looked down at the unprecedented coalition. And if this new alliance faces threats that require unified response? Sarah smiled. Then we will face them together, as equals contributing according to their abilities rather than subjects paying tribute to their masters. Humanity has learned that freedom shared is freedom strengthened. General Krextar, stripped of his command and facing tribunal investigation, watched from the defendant's section as his empire of fear crumbled around him. He had underestimated humanity's willingness to fight. but more importantly, he had underestimated their ability to inspire others. As the session ended and the new Galactic Defense Coalition was formally established, Sarah reflected on the price of peace. The hegemony had demanded 60% of everything humanity produced. In the end, humanity had paid a different price: the courage to stand against overwhelming odds and the wisdom to show others that resistance was possible. It was a price they had been willing to pay, and it had purchased something far more valuable than safety, the freedom to determine their own destiny among the stars.